Hello on the Rockers. Is this the podcast that goes wrong? Who knows? No, it's the cast members of the hit show Peter Pan Goes Wrong. How can you go wrong with Peter Pan, by the way? Peter Pan Peanut Butter, does anybody remember that? I do. Making their way to SoCal via Broadway, via across the pond. We have to be fancy today because they're English, you know. We have Ellie Morris, Chris Leask, Harry Kershaw, and one of the masterminds behind it all, Henry Lewis, and me, your favorite host with the sassy most. Raise a glass and let the drinks begin. It's On the Rocks.
Thank you for being
Boulevard.
Life is a banquet, and most poor suckers are starving to death.
I'd like to propose a toast.
This is On the Rocks with Alexander, where I drink with your favorite celebrities as we talk about fashion, entertainment, pop culture, reality TV, and, well, that's about it. So pop a cork, lean back, and raise a glass to On the Rocks.
Fasten your seatbelt. It's going to be a bumpy night.
Listen to that applause. Buttons and bows and pantyhose. On the Rocks podcast, a place where we're too glam to give a damn. Follow us on Instagram and TikTok at On the Rocks on air, and on Facebook, On the Rocks Radio Show. Send me an email. Book me for a pride, wedding, funeral, quinceañera, bris. I don't care. I will show up. Info at ontherocksradioshow.com. Send us your comments, your guest requests, and your questions. Again, info at ontherocksradioshow.com. The show's presented by Straw Hut Media. You can watch and or listen to our now over 320 episodes for free at ontherocksradioshow.com. Watch us on Apple TV, Roku, Amazon Fire TV on the Outlet.tv app, Facebook Watch, streaming with pride on SVTV, and on Channel 31 on the East Coast for some reason. I don't know, the East Coast loves us. All right, let's get the show on the road. In Peter Pan Goes Wrong, the team behind the Tony Award-winning global hit, The Play That Goes Wrong, they bring their trademark comic mayhem to J.M. Barrie's classic Peter Pan. The much-loved members of the Cornley Drama Society once again battle against technical hitches, flying mishaps, and cast disputes on their way to Neverland with hilarious and disastrous results, like a day in West Hollywood. I mean, it really is the same. Ad-sold-out performances, laughing fits, critical acclaim, nominations for 3 Outer Critics Circle Awards, 3 Drama Desk Awards, and a Drama League Award, and celebrity guest appearances, and you have the latest hit to come to the Amundsen's truly terrific year. It's been an embarrassment of riches for the Amundsen Theatre, and this year it's no different. Let's take a look at Peter Pan Goes Wrong.
Welcome to the Cornley Polytechnic Drama Society's Christmas production of J.M. Barrie's classic Peter Pan.
Please welcome from the cast, Ellie Morris, having studied at the London Academy of Dramatic Art, is a member of Mischief Theatre, and her stage credits include Spike, The Play That Goes Wrong, Mischief Movie Night, Rotterdam, the comedy about a bank robbery, and Spring Awakening. This is one of my favorite pictures. Yeah. In Peter Pan Goes Wrong, she plays Lucy Grove, a victim to stage fright and physical mishaps. We could be the same person. Please welcome Ellie Morris.
Hello. Hi.
Also joining us, Chris Leask. He does not like to smile in his professional headshots, by the way. I don't know. I couldn't find one headshot of you smiling. Yeah. His theater credits include Good Luck Studio, the comedy about a bank robbery, I Need to Vent, The Play That Goes Wrong, and Love Your Soldiers. In Peter Pan Goes Wrong, he plays Trevor Watson, the stage manager, also responsible for sound and lighting, who rarely smiles as well. He's a bit blunt and somehow finds himself in the audience view quite a few times. Please welcome Chris Leask.
Hi. Hello.
Also joining us, Harry Kershaw. Harry apparently hates social media because he only has 4 posts on his Instagram. Harry, what's going on?
Yeah, I'm not good at it.
No kidding.
I can barely work it. It's a disaster.
The social media that goes wrong. Okay. He trained at the Royal Academy of Dramatic Art, and his theater credits include Good Luck Studio, What's New, Pussycat, Boris III, The Madness of George III, This House, Peter Pan Goes Wrong, original cast, The Play That Goes Wrong, and One Man, Two Governors. In Peter Pan Goes Wrong, he often plays the narrator and a pirate who's often subject to stage woes. Please welcome Harry Kershaw.
Yeah.
And last but certainly not least, Henry Lewis, who co-founded Mischief Theatre, responsible for The Play That Goes Wrong, Peter Pan Goes Wrong, the comedy about a bank robbery, Grown Ups, Magic Goes Wrong, and The Goes Wrong Show, and co-host Ridiculous, an ITV daytime gay show. In Peter Pan Goes Wrong, he plays Robert Grove, the longest serving member of the Cornley Drama Society, who loves to ham it up and who loves the spotlight. Sometimes look at that. Look at that. That's a ham. Please welcome Henry Lewis.
Woo! Yeah.
It's such a pleasure to have you all in one room at one time, because we see all the joy and all of this on stage, and it's like the audience gets to be part of that evening experience, and now I get to be part of the experience a little bit behind the scenes, and I love it. Before we get into the nitty gritty, I want to know how this whole franchise started. A decade ago, it was a play that started it all, The Play That Goes Wrong, but before that was the creation of Mischief Theatre while studying at Lambda, originally doing improv comedy shows. Can you tell us the tale, as one of the co-founders, how the Mischief started?
Of course, yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, we were a group of friends at Lambda. We got together and we did the first thing we ever did was an improvised show at the Edinburgh Festival, and we took the show up there. We had no idea really what we were doing. We'd never done a show before. We'd never made a show before, and we kind of did everything ourselves. We marketed it ourselves. The Edinburgh Festival, I think, is amazing because I think that no matter what you're doing, if you're doing something fun and original, you can find an audience at the Edinburgh Festival. I think that's really cool, really important, and that was where we started. And while we were training, we did a lot of improv stuff. When we graduated from drama school, we then moved into more scripted stuff. That's when myself and Henry Shields and John wrote The Play That Goes Wrong, and we first did that again in a really small way in a room above a pub, 60-seat theatre. We had, I think, 12 people in the audience for our first show. It grew over the course of a couple of years into a 2-act show. It went into the West End. We thought it would do 8-9 weeks over the summer. It's just been there 9 years this autumn, so it's been an absolutely amazing journey.
Yeah,
it's insane. Most college theater kids get together and they have a great idea, and then 3 months later, they're working at Taco Bell and they've lost their dream. But it's like you've made this happen.
We definitely did Taco Bell too, right? Not Taco Bell specifically.
We've all had those kind of jobs. Now, I know the improv scene in LA is very fierce, but it's very niche. I have no clue what the improv scene over in England is. What was it at the time when you started, and how is it now? This is for everybody, because you guys all do improv.
What does niche mean?
So
niche
it's like
niche.
Like a niche, yeah.
Niche. Oh yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, no, I think
That's the only question. That's the only input you have.
Let me offer you some chips next, and we'll see what we get.
Yeah, it's good. I think I love improvisation. It's where we start. We started doing a show called Let's See What Happens, and I think we can.
Such a perfect title, by the way.
But we can agree that what happened for many years was not a good show. It took a long time, a long time of performing in front of people and getting it wrong. And dying a lot to for it to be something that we became better at. I suppose the scene is very much alive. I wouldn't say it's huge. Well, I don't know. What do you think?
I think bigger here than it is in the UK. There's definitely lots of improv in the UK, but it's not something that mainstream audiences go to often, I would say. But there's some really cool improvisation, definitely, particularly at the Fringe.
Well, it's funny because here in LA, it's usually the stepping stone. We have the Groundlings here. That's the stepping stone to Will Ferrell and a lot of the Saturday Night Live people. But it's really the stepway to TV and film, where you guys have created this whole franchise that's self-sustaining and it's gone big. How did you guys first get into improv?
I got into improv when I started at Lambda. So coincidentally, our director of Peter Pan Goes Wrong, Adam Megiddo, was my improv teacher, and I just fell in love with it. Really, he was a great teacher, and I really wanted to do more. And that's when I realized that Mischief were holding auditions, I think, for the Fringe, and so I auditioned. Then I got a spot, and I did a couple of weeks with them, and then kind of started doing improv with them from then on.
And the rest is history.
And the rest is history, of course, yeah.
But Adam is a phenomenal improviser, and I think it's kind of been a lot of inspiration for all of us with our improv and also the writing and everything. But he's part of a company called Showstoppers, and they are phenomenal. They do more musical-based kind of improv, whereas Mischief, I don't want to, But you know,
We do songs.
You're going to say that our songs aren't very good.
I'm not accusing you of anything, but it's weak.
We've had some great
Have another,
songs.
Chris.
It's
loud.
It's loud. Our
Let's
songs
keep
are
pouring this
loud,
stuff.
Chris. They're very loud and very committed.
I would
No,
say
it is very good. It is very good.
Well, I would say that Adam's approach to improv, I mean, he was taught by someone called Ken Campbell, and they have a much more long form improv. That was kind of how we were taught to make more kind of stories, do full shows. I think maybe over here it's more the short form, and it's games, and
Very
it's like
short.
who can be the funniest. Which is a totally different skill.
In a way, it seems cooler over here.
Yeah.
Definitely not cool.
Yeah,
We are not cool when we
No.
improvise, I think it's fair to say. No one ever comes away from one of our improvised shows thinking, oh, wow, what a bunch of cool people.
Never.
What a bunch of losers, I think is more apt.
I think what Mischief did for the lockdown, though, because Mischief did Mischief Movie Night, which was an amazing thing. That was it every day, nearly every day, right?
Wow.
Yeah, we did. It's a show we did live for a long, long time, and then
Yeah.
during lockdown we did it as Mischief Movie Night In, which was live streamed improv night, and it was amazing. It's such a thrill because we had people watching from all over the world, tuning in, and it came together very last minute. That last lockdown in the UK hit over Christmas. We were supposed to be doing a live run. We literally found out with a few days' notice that we couldn't do it, or we were, I think, a few shows in, and so we thought, well, what can we do? How can we turn this into something where people can still enjoy the work? And so we really quickly put together this thing. We couldn't have any kind of audience, and I think we were really nervous about that. We had no idea how that was going to work. Improv with no crowd, was it going to feel really odd? But actually, it was super cool and super intimate. And I think we then did a run subsequent to that the next year where we did have an audience. And actually, I thought it was even better without an audience because you just had that direct connection between you through the camera to the people watching at home on their TV. It was a really, really cool community thing almost, as well as a show, and so that was just an awesome experience.
It was so cool seeing people. So they would come to Stage Door in New York and say, "Oh, we watched Mission Movie Night In," and that was just the coolest thing.
Yeah.
Well, let's be honest. Like the arts really saved everybody during COVID.
Yeah.
And I think we were able to appreciate new forms of art, such as improv. And I think improv, even if you say like it doesn't go well or people think that we're losers, I think there's a charm in that it's very accessible. It's like even if it goes wrong, we still laugh and we still have a good time, and then the story goes on. I think the biggest difference is LA. Like I think you said it, it's like people want the spotlight, and they're like it's more of a competition.
Yeah.
Whereas like where I see what you all have done, it's like you really support each other and you're telling a unified story. It's more of a group effort than like let me be the star, let me be the one-liner. You know. I want to know though. So we have the idea of the play that goes wrong, and it spawned off, so many different spin-offs, and of course now Peter Pan goes wrong. What is this charm that keeps it going? It's not like a flash in the pan. It's not like, okay, we like this. This was the hot thing for 1 or 2 years. This has sustained itself for a number of years. What's the charm of the Mischief Group's content that keeps it going?
Ooh, gosh,
Good question.
I kind of think it's just the group of the people persevering to do. Oh gosh, I don't know now. Now that I'm answering, I don't know. This is really strong. I can feel it.
It's strong.
I can literally feel it in my feet.
No, I can as well. I can. It's yeah.
Are you guys crazy? This is the difference of Latino English.
God, yeah, we Brits are not used to this. But no, I think it's just seeing a group of people persevere and not give up. And I think Mischief is like kind of misfit. So it kind of appeals to just anyone who just wants to fit in somewhere, who hasn't really found their crowd.
I completely agree. I think I think that's such an important thing when performing the Goes Wrong shows. We always say, it's got to mean so much to them. Yeah. To Cornley, the company putting it on, it's really got to be important for them. That really keeps the stakes high, and I think that's what makes it fun. I also think, like, during when we first did the play that goes wrong, there was lots of stuff that we kind of filled in, almost like backstage in whispers and bits of improv and stuff. And when other casts came in and did it as well, there was lots more that we found out about the Cornley Drama Society, the actors playing those characters. And I think that then started to inform the writing, and it kind of went in a bit of a cycle like that. And so that's when new stuff came out, and we fed that into Pan and definitely into Goes Wrong Show. We wrote that for the BBC as well.
I think also is no matter your background, no matter where you're from, what language you speak or whatever, I think everyone can understand what the characters are doing, and everyone finds it funny when an English person gets hurt. So it's quite a safe bit of comedy.
Well, and it's fun when we see the characters in other instances. So it's like for an audience, when we see you, whether we see you on TV or we see you on stage, it's like coming home. It's like spending time with the family that you've grown close to. So it's fun to really see that. It's like the X-Men universe. It's going to go on and on and on. You know. Now, having started the group literally in college, you know, some of you have like grown up literally before our eyes. How has being part of Mischief Theatre changed you the most in terms of your craft and yourself, being part of this group?
Oh, wow.
I'll take this one.
Yeah, thank you.
We can't feel our feet over here, so you go ahead, man. Yeah. I'm blind. I can't see anything. I think what it is I think so much of, like, especially being in this career, people worry about failure. I think they worry about getting it wrong, and they worry about looking stupid. And I think that a lot of this work is about if you must fail, failing gloriously. And I think there's something really freeing in that, especially if you're doing some clown work. Most of it will be a massive success, hopefully, once you've refined it. Some of it will, regardless of how it goes, that particular audience might not particularly dig one thing a certain evening, so you've got to change it. And that keeps it alive, keeps it really exciting. And taking that into the rest of your work, I think, is a really, really useful thing to do.
Great answer.
Yeah,
thank you.
Answer.
Agreed.
Yeah,
thank you.
Improv, doing enough improv.
Now I'm going to get drunk.
Yeah, doing enough improv just teaches you to just you just can't care about everything. I used to get so devastated if I don't know, if I did a show wrong, not that there's even a wrong to do in an improv show, but I would just beat myself up. I would go over it and over it. And I think just doing more and more, you just have to let it go and move on and do. And I think that's a nice ethos to have just in life and in this career as well, because it's so kind of tough. But
once it's happened, it's done.
Yeah,
it's done. It's over.
Yeah.
Like I think that's really freeing in a way.
Yeah, definitely.
Another thing that Mischief taught me, I think, is like how important and like how powerful laughter can be, and like I think like it's really quite kind of crazy, really. And I think like, if you can have a sense of humour about something, and sometimes it can be hard, but if you can find a way to have a sense of humour about something, it can get you through so much in life. And I think some of the most amazing moments for me during the whole journey have been when the work that we've done has really helped, like, people who've gone through a tough time or whatever, and they've come up to us and kind of said, actually, yeah, this was a tough time, particularly during the pandemic. I mean, the people had a really, really tough time. And so, yeah, if the stuff that we do can help people a bit and help us kind of get through and muddle through and laugh and stuff, I think that's really cool. And so I've tried to take that out of Mischief into my own personal life as well.
Well, that's 100%. You know, coming to Broadway with the success that you guys had, you guys know the turmoil we're having here politically in the U.S., right? This is a show, it doesn't matter how old you are, it doesn't matter what class you're from, it doesn't matter what side of the political fence you are. We're laughing at a commonality, and that's just the goofiness of being human and the mishaps that happen being human. This show is so accessible to everybody that it's such a tool to bring audiences together, which we saw. I mean, you saw the crowds at your stage door and, you know, in your audience. And I think right now is an opportune time for this kind of material. I think, like, we need it desperately here in the U.S. for sure. But I have to know, of all the subject matter out there, why Peter Pan?
Why Peter Pan? Well, I mean, after we'd done Play That Goes Wrong, we were like, we want to do a known title, because Play That Goes Wrong is a murder mystery, but it's a original murder mystery written for. So we wanted to do something that was a known title. The original slot we first did it in was at Christmas, so we wanted a Christmas title. And I think the other thing that really drew us to it was just that it's an ambitious thing to take on. And so we thought it'd be funny for Cornley to take on, and particularly I think the flying was the first visual thing that we saw. Peter Pan has to fly.
We've all seen those Peter Pan productions, by the way.
Because within the world as well, the idea that somehow this useless company has been given so much money and a Broadway stage, I mean, that's funny in itself. Like, it should never have happened.
No, it should not be allowed. Somehow they've managed to... through bribes and
But like, what I do love is, like, it's a gorgeous production, you know, like the world within the world, it's gorgeous to look at, but then we have like the crocodile on the four wheels. I mean, it's just this dichotomy of what's happening on stage, because those of us that have grown up in like community theater, we've all done shows that are not quite as good as this, even on the worst night. You know what I mean? You've been like England, Canada, New York, LA, such different demographics. Can you share a story of when you all first came to the U.S.? Because I don't think this is your all first time.
It's
my first time.
Oh, it's your first time?
Yeah, apart from Hen, it's all of us.
Yeah, Hen's the experienced one.
Oh,
Yeah.
so the three of you. So not only coming to Broadway, I mean, and every actor wants to come to Broadway, like they want to go to West End. I mean, that's like the dream. But then to come to New York, which is interesting, because you're like, New York, and then you get here. Are you all right?
Yeah, I thought that was mixed. That's just straight vodka. Yeah. No, I now.
The mixer's there. The podcast goes wrong. Yes.
Because I saw Harry mixing, and I thought you were just mixing 2 drinks in one. I was like, Harry, that's bold. But no, turns out you did it right. That's a lot of vodka. Good luck, everyone.
Somebody's going to have to... Tuesday night, there's going to be no Trevor. It's like, where's Trevor? He's like, he's still passed out here.
We left him in a podcast studio weeks ago.
What was the question?
So there must have been culture shock. You know, all this like excitement coming to Broadway, and then the reality of New York. New York has beautiful parts, but it also has some very gritty parts.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So what was the biggest culture shock for you as an actor, as a person, but then getting onto stage?
I think, well, the biggest difference is the people at stage door. This is a nice one. Just how many people wait at stage door. I just was not expecting that.
That's part of the theater going experience here.
Yeah.
People love it. And it was just so lovely, like that first night, just to have this like crowd of people when you walk out. It was, and you know, that was nice.
Yeah, that's wild to me. I mean, my parents said we wouldn't want your autograph. So
After you're seeing your social media, they're like, how many followers you have? You're like, I'll wait.
yeah, but that's just wild to me. Just the amount of people who genuinely just say lovely things to you after the show.
Yeah.
That's not very British, by the way. What we tend to do is we tend to if we're being really nice, we tend to say, yeah, it's all right.
It's all right. Yeah, the audiences.
We're very reserved in the UK. Yeah.
I've dated an English person once, did not go well.
But yeah, the audiences on the whole were just like so incredible.
Oh, amazing.
Just, so enthusiastic and
supportive, as well, like behind the characters in the because so in Peter Pan, there's lots of stuff about the Cornley Drama Society. There's a love story in it. There's not to give too much away, but there's lots of stuff behind the scenes, and the audience just get behind those characters so much, particularly Ellie's character as well.
Oh wow,
because you're kind of so you're treated
the heart
horribly.
and soul.
Yeah, absolutely. And, but the support that's there is absolutely incredible. And so that's a really special thing about it.
It is nice because over here it's just you guys understand the language of an underdog story. Whereas in the UK we'd be like, yeah, we get it, but hurt the underdog. Do you know what I mean? Make them fall over or something. We're very different kind of sense of humour.
Yeah.
But it is funny because English humor is very different. Like, you know, I was raised on like Ab Fab. That's like my experience of English humor. And that's pretty slapstick kind of humor, but we know English humor is a bit elevated. And so maybe the U.S. audiences wouldn't have responded or even gotten it. I hate to put our own country down, but, you know, we're watching Housewives 24 hours a day. So there was that kind of danger, too, that the humor wouldn't transfer over. Did you have to change anything to make it more accessible to U.S. audiences?
Not a great deal. I mean, there's obviously little bits and pieces that we changed to local references. There's a moment where one of the actors is getting fed his lines through a headset, and he gets radio interference and gets other stuff. So that's always local stuff, like it's the A train's down, like a tube announcement or a subway announcement. We've changed that, but no, generally beyond that, no, it remains pretty much the same.
That's pretty awesome.
We were a bit nervous because there's a few of us. There's me and Henry Shields who plays Hook. Ellie does it as well, but Hen does it as well as Robert Grove. That we do like a pre-show kind of improv, and it's a good note for anyone that is coming to see the show. I'd say turn up half an hour early because we do quite a big improv thing with the audience where it's us trying to get ready for the show and mayhem happens. But I think we were quite nervous about doing it because, you know, sometimes it can get a bit like we're roasting the audience and we can be a bit mean. It's the characters being mean. But we were a bit nervous. We were a bit like, how's it going to go with the audience over here? But actually, I found it much easier over here. People like like kind of getting involved, and they're a lot more keen to kind of. We had someone who brought a hammer to the theatre. So I know it was.
Don't bring a hammer to the theatre.
That's what we learned.
There's more context to that than just bringing a weapon to a theatre.
Someone brought a weapon to the theatre. No, we asked the audience for a hammer, and someone who was obviously a fan of the show brought in a hammer, and security were furious.
Yeah,
security weren't doing their job and didn't find the hammer.
Now there are going to be so many hammers. That absolute blizzard.
But that's
of
done.
hammers.
No, bring something else. The hammer's done.
But it kind of gives us like this Rocky Horror type of experience where the audience is part of the storytelling.
Yeah.
And like when the fourth wall is broken, I love that moment too, because that also brings the audience in and it elevates. It's a truly great evening of theater, but also just fun and camaraderie. So you gave me like the all PC goodness of coming to New York, but I want to know, like, as an actor, you come with your bags and you're like, wait, this is New York? What was the biggest culture shock for you, like personally?
Cheese.
Cheese?
Yeah, milk. Bread.
We put cheese on everything.
Cheese on everything.
Everything. There's cheese in your vodka.
I mean...
yeah, that was the one thing for me. I was just like, there's anything you want, there's
really?
cheese on
Literally,
it.
yeah.
I find it strange that your milk lasts for literally months. Like bread lasts for months.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Just for food generally.
Food is weird.
Quite a statement.
Food is weird.
Food is weird.
Discuss.
Well, you can say we certainly enjoy it. That's one thing that we do. Now you have gone, you've come and gone and come back to these roles. Harry and Henry, you were the only ones of the original cast. Right, of Peter Pan.
Yeah.
So you kind of come back, and it's been a few years since coming back. I want to know, what was it like returning to these roles a few years later? What things different from your own experiences are you now bringing back to the characters at this point? That's for everybody.
Oh, great.
From my own.
That's an excellent question.
Yeah.
Wow.
We should have a smart answer
From my
so we
own
look like we've
experience.
developed.
Yeah, we should, I suppose.
Wow.
Well, especially you, because you've seen the Canadian version, you've seen the touring cast, like, you're behind so many different iterations of this. Yeah. So, but now coming back to it on stage, and you guys have all come and gone at certain periods of this timeline.
I think there's definitely things that get rolled in as they're discovered, and whether that's like us playing the same role in a different format, because we've done quite a lot of that now. We've done obviously the Goes Wrong show on TV, we've done a bit of radio, we've done all sorts of different stuff.
The pilot that's not a pilot, I swear to God, is one of the funniest things I've ever seen. That mirror thing with the male bodies,
amazing.
Like, I wish I could do that in real life, I'll tell you that.
That was good. That was the first thing we ever filmed for that series.
Yeah.
So hilarious.
And that was good, very good fun. But I mean, so all of that stuff and all of the little bits and pieces, the more you play the character, the more you kind of get a sense of it, and that kind of comes back and rolls in. I think, that company Cornley has kind of sort of grown a little bit. I mean, it's weird because in a way, like when you having done Play and Peter Pan kind of a long time ago now when we first did it, then gone on and done the TV stuff, played those characters in different ways, then coming back to do Peter Pan again, you don't want to add too much in. You don't want them to have become experienced in any way, because you still want them to have that naivety, you still want it to be that first night feel. So actually sometimes weirdly it's a question of stripping back
Interesting
stuff that you've learned and added as the thing's grown, rather than necessarily, but there's definitely details, there's little things, tiny things. In the Play That Goes Wrong, we went out to see an amazing version done in Norway, and theatre in Norway is just awesome. It's all government funded, it's amazing. They do this tour and they go to Røros. It was this amazing snow-covered village, beautiful. There's this village hall in the centre of the town. Everybody goes in and watches the show. It was brilliant. They did it so perfectly, and there was a great joke in that where at the end of the bit where Chris Bean is asking for the ledger and he finally finds it underneath the couch with the help of the audience, the stage manager runs on having found the other one, so there's now two, and that was a great joke, and that ended up back in the West End version. So there's little bits like that as well that have kind of crossed over.
But like as actors too, like you've experienced growing up, the older we get, we experience loss, we experience love, we kind of mature. And so coming back, not to put myself on the same plane, but I did You're a Good Man, Charlie Brown for a year. And then we had a 5-year reunion. I came back to it, I was like, I forgot, I can't do this role anymore. I didn't feel as playful or as anything. It took forever to kind of click back, and it wasn't that same kind of magic. But you guys have captured the magic again.
Yeah, everyone just is so, their Cornley characters are so kind of embedded because we do all of this improv. It's not just when the show starts, it's, as you said, half an hour before, you're doing the pre-show, we're improvising together backstage. So I think, and obviously doing the TV show, you have just so much knowledge about who that person is. And so I think that probably gives just, even if you can't see exactly what that is, it will just give something, an elevation of sorts maybe. So that's, yeah.
I agree. I think sometimes, like, you know, because after doing a show for 9 years, sometimes you're going to have days where, for whatever reason, because you've been rehearsing a lot or whatever, you get a bit tired. And then on those shows, we do turn around to each other and go, okay, let's improvise backstage.
Oh, I love
and it
that.
is so much fun to do because we've been playing these characters for such a long time that actually it's really enjoyable that we just know the characters inside out. It really brings a nice spice to an energy to the show. I'd say, actually, for me, the biggest thing, like coming back to when older, is I realise I'm older, so I get more injured. Like, you have to look after yourself.
Think about that.
Yeah, you realise that you designed something so long ago that when you come back to it, you're like, oh, okay, yeah, I get cramp now. That cramp turns to a broken leg. Like, you know. Yeah. But the thing that I found is that, you know, when you're a young actor, especially doing comedy, and you're constantly getting feedback, you can't help it if you don't get the same laugh that you got the night before.
Oh, that's
you
interesting.
really judge yourself. It's similar to what
And
you
you
were saying
psych
earlier.
yourself out.
You psych yourself out, and
It's
you're
a
just a bit
mental
like, you
thing,
let
yeah.
them down. Or when you're young, you're foolish and you kind of go, oh, this audience is rubbish today.
Yeah.
And you blame the audience.
And sometimes the audience is rubbish.
Yeah. But I think the older, now I'm more like, oh no, the audience is always right. No matter what the show is, they're the paying customer. They are always right. And if they don't like that joke today, that's great. They don't like the physical jokes. You go, okay, great. I'll just make sure that the verbal gags and the verbal jokes, I'll just give you that a bit more because you're not into the physical stuff, or vice versa.
That's very mature rather than being defensive.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. And it's more going like, you know, it's fun.
I have to say, Chris, your ass has held up really well, though. I've seen your ass more
You're
times than I've
very
seen my
welcome.
own ass, by the way. I'm like, oh, there's his butt again. Okay. And it's still, like, it's perky. It's there, you know.
Ours comes up a lot in conversations.
Definitely there.
Well,
Chris Leask has the first arse
You're welcome.
that was shown pre-Watershed
No
on BBC
way.
One.
Yep.
mean,
I did not know that.
Wait, and it's his arse.
that
That's
should be on
important to
your
say.
Wikipedia.
Everyone
It
thinks
is
it's a
his
fake
arse. It's not like that
It's
you
my
have
arse.
It's not like you have an arse at home.
No, I asked Brad Pitt to double as my arse, but like he wouldn't do it.
that's a history-making ass. Congratulations.
Thank you so
Is there an
much,
award
everyone.
for that? Is there like an
actually
Olivier Award for that?
No.
Okay. Yeah. There's a
BAFTA.
BAFTA.
This was very desperate. Well, once I was doing some sort of like a similar thing to this, and I basically said, I'm surprised there's not a Trevor arse fan page, and
There is.
someone made it afterwards, and I was like, it's always embarrassing.
You
when
guys
you've
are in
asked for it.
LA. You guys are in LA. Give it 2 days.
Oh, there
Somebody
you go.
must Hollywood's
Once
gonna
again,
pop
I've
that up real
asked.
fast.
I've asked for an arse fan page.
Your ass is gonna have a Grinder profile before you know it. Just because you're like, it's like, what's that noise? With improv being such a big part of Mischief Theatre, how much of Peter Pan Goes Wrong is improv, if at all?
little bits. Most of it's pretty set, but there are little chapters that have elements of improv within it, the pre-show being one.
Yeah, the audience interaction with Hook, that's another one where that's quite improvised, depending on the
But I think it's like one of those things with improv as well. It's like if you do enough shows of improv, eventually
It
you
becomes-
kind of
There's a
you
pattern.
run
You know the outline.
every single option that could have been, so it starts to feel a bit more devised. But everything that you see is pretty much like in those improv sections has been improvised at one point. Yeah.
Now, all of you knowing the show, knowing the characters, what was the rehearsal process, knowing you were going to take it to Broadway and then Los Angeles? Like, usually with rehearsal, you get the script, you're highlighting your lines, and you're like, okay, let's talk about character and all that, but you already know this. So where did that rehearsal process kind of start?
Brief.
Yeah, it was brief.
So brief. We had no
Did we
money.
have one?
He'll let you get 4 days. Remember your lines. Go on.
Here's a block of cheese, go at it.
There was a church hall. There was a few days, and that was
Really?
And we flew to
We didn't have the set. We were just doing it with bits of tape on the floor.
a lot
Yep.
of tape.
That was a big difference coming back to it, is the set's changed since we've been out
Yeah.
the show.
Oh my
So
God,
there were
and
a
the
few
show was so
things-
tight. Even one little change, I can imagine.
So there were a few things we had to get used to that are new since we've come into it, that have happened in other productions since. But no, other than that, we just kind of reminded ourselves and off we went.
Yeah.
Now, the show is full of intended mishaps. I want to know what stories you can share of real mishaps. Does the audience even know at this point?
I think they do. Do you not think so?
Oh, I think sometimes. It depends what it is.
I feel like, but I don't know if this is my awareness,
Yeah.
but I feel like they're really smart and that actually, collectively, when something does go wrong, which essentially in our case goes right, which is the weirdest feeling. When something just goes right, you go, wow, it's a really underwritten scene.
It's a regular, yeah.
Yeah, it's a regular scene. It's very boring. But I think the audience can tell. But I don't know if that's just my paranoia.
But isn't that a damning indictment of how we're doing the rest of the show?
Yeah, that's very true.
But if it really goes wrong, like if something bad goes wrong, I think they sometimes are like, oh, yeah.
If there's a showstop,
Yeah, they're like,
then
woo.
generally they're like, ha ha ha, oh.
Yeah.
So, like,
That's
what
fine.
has happened that wasn't supposed to happen?
I fell from the fly rig.
For real?
Did you?
Yeah. Do you remember? Was it? I can never remember. Was it on tour that I fell from
Yes,
the fly rig, or
'cause
was
I
it on the
didn't know
West
that.
End?
Yeah, I think it was probably on tour. Loads of things happened back then.
Yeah. It was.
You
It was
know.
quite a fresh show. The revolve broke,
was
and we
a
had to
while ago.
push the revolve
The
round.
revolve.
That's actually really funny, actually.
Yeah, I know.
It's like seeing Les Mis with people pushing the people.
Yeah, exactly that. Yeah, and I fell from the fly rig, and that was really scary.
That's scary.
It was, but it was very funny because I was warned that it would never happen, and supposedly it was a freak accident, and potentially I had done something by accident and pulled the wrong wire. I don't know how I did it, but I did it. But I was upside down, came back upright, and then suddenly one of the wires just snapped off, and I fell to my side. And then the person who was flying me panicked because they were like, that's not supposed to happen, so just let go and drop me. Oh, no. So then I whack the floor, I get up, and then the stage manager comes out and starts to clip me back on. And I remember in character turning around going, I ain't going back up there. I was like, you're joking, I'm not going back up there. But then I realised how important that scene is to flying. And it was just a madman running around pretending to hit into the set. So it was a very once again, a very underwhelming written scene.
Oh, gosh. Wow, I didn't realise that. That's...
Yeah, it must have been on the tour then. I always forget.
Yeah, it was on the tour for sure.
I know it's not in. Oh, sorry, I just hit the microphone. I know it's not in. I know it's not in Pan, but I remember in Play That Goes Wrong when we were doing it, the upper level is meant to collapse. And I remember,
Oh yeah, onto me.
And I remember it just didn't really collapse. It went so slowly down, and you're meant to then get hit and get knocked out.
Yeah.
And I just remember thinking, I really hope that. Due to the level coming down so slowly, I think I heard you say so slow.
Oh yeah, it was just that wasn't in character. That was just the actor. So disappointing. Like he has a moment where he has a knockout, and it was just so disappointing. I was like, so slow.
I remember, there's a blood capsule at that point. I remember thinking, I really hope he doesn't pretend to get knocked out by that.
Like you did.
But I did because I'm a professional.
I found it so. I was playing Chris Bean at that point. I just remember finding it so funny that I could not control. Like it was just carnage on stage for the 10 minutes after that. I think.
I love these stories. And it's these real life stories that add to like the story of everything goes wrong.
You got to tell the story
Yeah.
of Henry Shields coming out to you about your pants in bank robbery.
Oh gosh, that was a bad one.
I love a good pants story.
Oh wow.
So in the comedy about a bank robbery, in the second act, there's lots. Well, it's a complicated sequence, but there's lots.
A little bit closer.
Sorry,
I want to hear this.
There's lots of. There's lots of people pretending to be other people, dressing up as other people. In particular, impersonating the character I played, Mr. Freeboys, the manager of the bank. And my character loses his trousers. So the criminals decide they have to get their version of the bank manager to also lose his trousers so that he matches up. And basically, that's what happens. But we skipped ahead. And what happens in the scene is he's like, you got to lose your pants, but he says it to me, and that's wrong. And he grabs them and tears them off me. I've got these tearaway pants, and I'm outraged, and that's the whole farce of it. But he came like one scene too early to do the tearing away of the trousers, so he came over to me when I wasn't wearing the tearaway trousers. And said, you've got to take off your trousers. But the other character hadn't lost his trousers.
Yeah, so it was just so weird.
Take off your pants. I love you, honey. I love you.
It was just
That was it.
Talk about your free boys. Okay.
That was what it was.
It was very funny and very outrageous. And he just looked at me. He realised when he
Halfway
pulled my
through.
trousers that like they weren't coming off. And I was like, no, it's not that.
You
yet.
looked so disappointed when he came out. He just walked on and goes, take off your pants. And you just looked at him like, come on, man.
It was very, very, very confusing.
Oh,
And,
yeah.
Yeah, and then of course at the end we had to go and do it again. So we essentially did the thing in Play That Goes Wrong where we looped around in the scene.
Yeah. Wrong on wrong, not good.
Wrong on wrong, yeah, not good.
The show is a mile a minute. We were talking about the physicality is actual physicality. The verbal banter from start to finish. How do you unwind, take care of your mental health while traveling away from home, while dealing with the same family on the road day after day, no matter how close we are, when we're in a show week after week in a foreign land, it can start to take its, its toll. So how do you take that time for your own mental health? What kind of tricks do you do? And any advice for actors that are kind of doing their first national tour? And again, because it's physical, like you said, you feel it the next day.
Yeah. I've always found that it's I think in the industry everyone's always like, if you want to get to a position where you're constantly working or you're working in this industry, you need to, all your eggs have to be in that basket and you have to work really hard to be in the industry. And I'm always like, actually, I think that's not the healthiest way of looking at it. And I actually think the best thing to do is when you're not doing the job is have you time, have hobbies, do stuff that is not to do with the job, so you can recharge. And that actually, even though we love what we do, it is a job, and actually you need to keep other aspects of your life really happy. So that means like going to the cinema, or I'm just naming things within the art industry now, but like going
or doing acting,
or doing another play, writing something, rewatching the play every night,
taking another headshot without smiling. It's all up to you.
Okay, Chris, we know what we have to do.
Oh my God, I need to smile more. Okay,
you should have seen me at the computer. I'm like, no. It's like, is that a mugshot? I don't know at this point.
I guess I'm not a smiler. I'm not doing enough hobbies. That's not this industry. I need out.
Let's get you to the cinema.
Yeah.
Eat cheese and it'll all get better from there.
No, but I think kind of like, doing things away. So knowing that sometimes you need to isolate them and go and have you time.
Yep.
Go and socialise with your friends. Go and visit a museum, whatever. I think that's really important to me.
Yeah, doing another creative thing is also, because as much as the show, I love doing the show, when you're doing the same thing for months on end, it can get a little bit like, so it's nice to do another creative thing that is also kind of exciting and fulfilling alongside that.
Agree, yeah. Varied creative pursuits definitely is a good thing.
Well, and you went to Mexico recently, right?
Yeah.
Which was
That's perfect.
Absolutely amazing. I had an absolute blast. It is weird because my partner is in the UK and is sort of able to come out, but not all the time.
Yeah.
So it was lovely to have a couple of weeks with her, and we had an absolute blast. It was really, really relaxing, lovely.
To the same place that I'm about to go after we finish.
I highly recommend the sushi. I've been telling these guys
Wow.
literally
You really
non-stop.
like the sushi.
Sushi in Mexico?
Yeah, that's
There's-
what we
there's
said as
an-
well.
This is exactly what I said on the car on the way here. It's just like in Mexico,
Amazing.
the sushi being a highlight.
The
Surprised
seafood in
me.
Mexico is great, but sushi? I'm not so sure.
It was a sushi bar. This is really off topic, but it was a sushi bar.
Welcome to On the Rocks.
And you watched it all being made. I'd never seen it being made before, and it's amazing how much there's an enormous amount of skill in it, and it's incredible. Yeah.
So in answer to your question, just go and watch some sushi being made.
I
You're having a tough day.
mean, you don't want to see sushi goes wrong, though, because you don't want to see that.
No.
Henry, being the father, so to speak, of the group, one of the fathers, how do you keep the group in line? Egos in check, everybody getting along. And I don't mean this in a negative way, but as creatives, we all have those kind of egos. There's all those moments. There's the tired tech rehearsal. There's like, oh God, jet lag, all of that. How do you kind of keep the family together? Because that's a job in itself.
I mean, I think that
It got really quiet, by the way.
We're just thinking,
Go on. How do you keep us in check, mate?
From your massive dressing room.
We knew that was going to come up. A few of us are having
He
to
cuts
share.
one of your wires, obviously. He's like, no more ego.
well, I mean, obviously it's a very authoritarian regime. No, I think one of the amazing things about Mischief is that we're all really close friends as well as colleagues, and so I think that's really cool. And I think that. But I think, as well as the company's kind of matured over time, I think very much like Chris was saying, I think that everyone kind of knows that it's important to have them time as well, because obviously when you're working together and that's kind of your social group as well, that's very intense. And so I think it's amazing, but it can also be intense. So it's important to also have your own time and your own kind of space. And so that's important too. And I think we've got into a good rhythm with that, where everyone kind of knows their kind of their kind of rhythm, I suppose. But I don't think in terms of like, there's no. I mean, we try to make sure. Within Mischief, like myself and John are kind of the directors of Mischief Theatre, the company, and we, not to get into the inner workings of it, this is all complicated, not very interesting, but we kind of work with the producers and that side of it, but we try and involve everyone as much as possible in kind of, in decisions, and we have a creative committee to look at new work and all of that kind of stuff. So I don't know. I mean, I don't know. There's no kind of particular methodology to keep everyone in line, as you said. But
this is great though. If it had come out,
I think you're good at like kind of grouping people together.
Give it more.
Yeah, you're good at grouping people together, and kind of like, we have like the tradition of grouping together before the improv shows. We would always do that and have like a few breaths together, and I think that comes back when it needs to now, which is always quite nice, because that's like a real thing that we always used to do like years ago, and it's nice to just have that collective language of like, oh yes, this is what we do when we need to regroup. And I think you're good at leading.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you.
I mean, you do have a difficult role in that you are part of the family, but you're one of the co-founders, and it's like the general direction as a whole, not just this production but the whole franchise. So you kind of have to set yourself a little bit aside.
I don't know. I within Mischief, like I wear a lot of hats, like because I'm in stuff. I do the writing. That's slightly different, and to some extent involved in the management of it. So I think that I just try and make sure I'm wearing the right one at the right time. I think.
Yeah.
You guys have it all figured out. Like
We've nailed it.
LA Theater, we're still trying. It's like, and so you kind of touched on this, and I want to know from all of you as actors in your own right with your own projects. You've been in the group for such a long time. How do you personally know when it's right time for you to work on your own path, your own project, your own audition? Because being part of this family is so intoxicating. It's like Shangri-La. You never want to leave, but at the same time, you're your own actor too.
That's a good question. It is hard. I mean, sometimes it's like forced upon you. So, like, there's just
someone
no
offers you
work.
a job.
See, it's not like it's kind of like there's no work going with the Mischief. So you kind of go, damn it, I have to go and find a different job. But like it's I don't know. I think it's a nice, like, being able to go out and, like, I don't know, work in other companies is really useful, because you can bring the skills you learn working outside Mischief, you can bring into Mischief, and vice versa. The skills you learn within Mischief, you can bring to other jobs. So I think it's they complement each other.
Yeah, I feel like things seem to kind of work out timeline-wise, certainly for us. We've done different bits here, but then Mischief always kind of seems to weave back in, which is very nice.
It's also not a commune that you can't leave.
Oh, hang on, you didn't have to do that awful thing to get out.
Obviously, Hen was wearing his hat, so.
No, but I know, Harry, you've done your own theatre, you've done your own stuff too.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, and also, we work together within Mischief. Me and Chris just wrote a short film together, which just got made, and that's really exciting. And I think, regardless of it being Mischief or not Mischief, if you're just really if you're focusing on one thing, if you're just like, I can only work with these people, then I think that limits you creatively. I think it's always great to be a part of as many gangs as you can possibly be part of. And you'll do something else which is entirely different. Maybe you'll do a Shakespeare play or something, and something within that might make you better within this work, and vice versa.
Yeah,
I think also in a healthy way. I think it's Mischief runs on a way of, like, it's a professional company. So if someone, there's not casting for that person, then they there's no job for you. So it's kind of like, it's no bad thing. It's just kind of actually having a window to just go and do other things.
Yeah, but also Hen and John are doing a million different things as well.
My God, yeah.
So actually, everyone's doing a million different things, and that's part of the fun of it.
Yeah.
Henry, is there any drama in your future?
Any drama in my future?
What do you?
Not like personally.
Personal drama. I was like,
down,
my
everybody.
God, you know something. We knew you did your
We
research.
do research.
You do my research. You've spoken to Caroline. You know what's coming.
No, but your franchise is built on comedy, obviously.
Yeah.
But for you personally, like talking about like taking you out of it. I was like, did I miss something?
Is there drama in your future?
Sorry.
TMZ. But like being the world of comedy is your world.
Yeah.
But personally, do you have like a secret desire for some dramatic spin-off, like The Funeral That Goes Wrong? Or
I would
something?
love to see you in a dramatic role.
That would be good.
But it is
I would love
really
to.
this is a really interesting thing. I think people who do drama or who specialise in sort of quite deep emotional dramatic work, people far less consistently are just like, well, can you do comedy? Whereas if you do comedy a lot, people are just like, well, you probably can't do the other thing. And I think that's an interesting thing, I think.
But we know comedy is so much harder. When Jessica Lange did Tootsie, that was her first comedic role, and she said it almost made her leave acting because playing comedy was so hard for her. And the director said, well, don't play comedy. You play your role in this whole thing. But we know the idea is that playing comedy is that much harder because you have to be dramatic. And one of the questions is also how you guys bring a sincerity and a reality to these characters, because we know you can't just play for laughs. We know there's big moments in Peter Pan Goes Wrong, but you can't just play at that because there's no sincerity, there's no chemistry with the audience.
We always say with like Goes Wrong stuff, it's it's a comedy for the audience, it's a tragedy for the people going through it, right?
Well, yeah, that's true.
It's a
and the
disaster.
love lost and the love happening on stage.
Yeah.
But there are, but I think, but there's, I mean, obviously there's crossover. But yeah, no, I mean, I would like, yeah, I'm sure, I'd love to. I'm really keen, I mean, I love and adore all the work with Mischief. I think it's really cool, and I see a big bright future for that. But also, it's always fun to do a variety of things. For sure.
I saw Hen in Mercury Fur.
I was going to say that. One of the best performances, man.
Yeah, Hen, I don't want to go on about it, but you were very good. You were very good.
And he's like,
Philip
please
Ridley playing.
do.
Yeah, that's a great play.
It's a very, very dark play.
Yeah.
It's sort of weird because it's about as far away from Mischief stuff as you could get. It was a very cool experience. It was just a small studio run in a theatre that isn't even there anymore, and it's a play about, it's sort of post-apocalyptic by an amazing writer called Philip Ridley, and Ned Bennett directed it, who is a good friend of mine and is amazing, and that was very cool. Yeah.
There was one thing that happened that was quite a weird offshoot of that, is that we were doing an improvisation show the week after that, and suddenly all the choices that the Bath Comedy Festival and all of the choices that Hen was making was suddenly incredibly dark.
I had trouble shaking it off.
It was quite a light,
a
lovely light sort of funny scene, and then suddenly Hen was just like, no.
I killed a chicken.
You killed a chicken. You made someone film some sort of awful. It was it was suddenly very dark, I think. But as I say, Mercury Fur was excellent.
Not that comedy show.
My work at the Bath Comedy Festival
It was not good.
Yeah, I'd say Bath Comedy Festival didn't see your best work that particular year.
I agree.
God, I love this. So I want to know, what is the audition process for Mischief? And I want to know how the three of you came to the group. What was your audition process like? Is that another story?
Not sure.
Vodka was too strong.
I'm not sure I can tell this story.
Oh no.
Yeah, yes, of course you
Oh
can.
my days!
No.
You should absolutely tell.
No, I
I
don't
think
think
it's
I
fine
can
to
tell
tell the
this
story.
Well, I don't even know what the story is.
Oh yeah.
Do you know what it is?
You can absolutely
Now
tell
we
the
have to
story.
know.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm not sure about
I
this.
do.
But,
This is a good story.
Okay.
That wasn't how you came to Mischief in the
No. You're one of the founding members. You
Yeah,
didn't just.
I'm one of the founding members, but I had to audition for Play That Goes Wrong, and at the time, I think there were sort of four rounds for it, and the third round was a workshop, and what you had to do was you had to do a scene where, which was a very well acted scene where two characters wouldn't see each other again ever, and it had to have one big physical moment in it, and I was with an actor called Adam Byron, who's a fantastic actor and was in Good Luck Studio and is great. And we decided that we were two brothers who were never going to see each other again. We were at an airport, and the first time you do the scene, you just play it entirely straight. And in this scene, I was playing his brother who was going away, never to see him again. And he turned up and he said, "It's just me." And I said, yeah, I know. And the one physical moment was that he hugged me, and then he sort of burst into tears, and then I was like, I've got to go, and he sort of fell around my ankles, and I had to just step over him and leave. And then they were like, great, so now you need to do that scene again, but something needs to go wrong.
That's like so sad. I'm it's like Sophie's Choice. What's gonna?
Don't worry.
What funniness can we bring?
Don't worry. Don't worry. There's quite a big turn
Harry
here.
succeeded.
And then, the next thing that has to happen is that something has to go wrong. And so he turned up. He said, "It's just me," and I said, "I know." And we decided that during the physical moment that when he fell around my ankles, he would bring down my trousers, which he did. But he not only did he bring down my trousers, he brought down all of the other things that might have been there, including my underwear, and I had to very quickly yank my my trousers and pants back up. And just to put this into context, there were about 30 people in that room.
Yep.
Including,
you got the job though.
I
Harry,
did get the
so
job.
What does that tell you?
But
it wasn't
Mischief. We'll hire people.
It was.
You knew what we were looking for. Really, that's the important point.
The thing, though, the sad thing, it wasn't a big part. It
was that. That's why I got the part.
That's my contribution.
It was a very,
wow,
very
I don't think I
funny,
knew that
funny.
story.
That's
That's
hilarious.
wrong moment, but I've never seen someone move as fast as you did to recover your trousers.
It was awful, and then afterwards, the director was like, "Was that meant to happen?" I was like, "No, it really wasn't." He was like, "Good, because that's
It's not acceptable. You can't expose yourself at an audition.
Yeah.
Wow, he's not Jewish. Okay. How did you guys come to Mischief? What was your audition like?
I mean, nothing that.
I mean, you can't top that.
exciting.
No, mine was just a very normal experience.
Can we see your butt? You're in.
Yeah, mine was a lot less vulnerable than yours. I just auditioned. It was for the first tour of Peter Pan Goes Wrong, which was with Harry.
Yeah.
We did that together on tour, and I just auditioned. Obviously, we all went to Lambda together. But yeah, I just kind of went through the normal facts. I didn't have to expose myself to get a job.
By the way, no one had to do that. No one had to do that.
No, but you did, Harry. But you did.
And I think I just did like a 2-hour improv workshop.
2 hours?
At Lambda's facilities, yeah. And then did Edinburgh Fringe with you guys for about 2 weeks, and then, from there.
It's like, we want to injure you on stage every night.
Yeah.
And then,
I want to know, and this is totally not to do with the show or Mischief, but individually for all four of you, is what is a personal major success for you career-wise? Not because it was a critically acclaimed, or you got paid the most, or it was the most exposure, but for you personally, that it was a personal challenge, or you really overcame an obstacle, and you're like, this was a great moment. Where you look back and you're like, as an actor, that was my defining moment thus far.
Yeah, I've got one.
When your pants fell down.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you.
Finally.
No wonder you don't have a social media. God knows what we would find.
very true.
I think it was when me and Chris recently made this short film, which was called Office Royale. Just being able to managing to fund it was incredibly difficult, and we wrote it and obviously cast ourselves in it. But
sometimes you got to make your own stuff. You just have to.
Exactly. Yeah. And having even more creative control was a wonderful thing. And that was it hasn't even been released yet, so people might see it and pan it entirely.
But
even so, I'm incredibly proud that we made that and that we made it happen. And I think that's one of my favourite things that I've ever done.
It's going to film festivals, though, right?
It is. One of the pictures you put up was...
I saw it, like you got your first laurel or something.
Exactly, for Rhode Island.
He posted it on his social media.
Yeah. It's almost like you don't actually care. You're just saying this for the podcast,
It's actually on one of my 3 different pictures on Instagram.
Oh, is it?
Oh, actually it is. Because you have like a little bloody nose.
Yeah,
that's it, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. I agree. I'm going to... I think that was one of my proudest moments as well. And I think we've been very fortunate about that with the Mischief stuff as well, is that because there is such a family feel to what we do, that I feel that like there's kind of an excitement when something does go to Broadway. You can't help but feel like, even though we didn't write it and stuff like that, but that we're all a bunch of mates that have come together to make this project, that you feel so proud of it. So we're very lucky in our careers to have, done that.
Yeah. Mine? I would say mine. No. So
I literally put this much of.
No, it was a lot. Okay, it was a lot. Felt like a lot. No, mine is we have recently, kind of recently started a D&D podcast. Myself, Chris, Henry Shields, Dave, who is in Mischief but isn't in this run.
And you get to do voices.
And Adam Megiddo, who is the director of this. And we've been doing it for a few months. And that, I would say, is quite a proud thing. We did an episode recently with a guy called Darren DePaul, who is a voice actor, this incredible, legendary voice actor, who's done a lot of Critical Role and things like that. And doing a one-shot episode with him was just the coolest thing ever. He's also a big fan of the show, and he came to see us, and it was really lovely. But yeah, I think when you make something yourself, it's just, there's so much more fulfillment.
Exactly,
So that was super cool, just having someone who is so kind of big in that community acknowledge what we're doing in a small way and work with us and feel really passionate about working with us and enthusiastic. I think that was very, very cool. So that felt pretty good. Yeah, that was my favorite.
I think
my whole career.
Yeah, everything you've ever done, Hen.
I mean, how can you think it's like Broadway opening, tour,
the book
TV,
that I just
I don't know.
I am theatre
Maybe
god.
the Olivier one.
With that voice too, like yeah.
Was it the Olivier or the book or the?
Or was it
Oh,
the
I forgot to
dressing room?
announce Olivier.
The dressing room that you got in LA. That's
Yeah, do you remember the one that you don't have to share with anyone else? You know that,
This is the second time I've heard. So you have your own dressing room?
I do.
I do as well.
I think,
Sorry, guys.
no, lots of other. It's all great.
Yeah.
I have been put in an embarrassingly large dressing room, and I feel
It's probably
it.
Patti LuPone's dressing room.
Own it.
She comes once a year. It's still her dressing room.
It's Jeff Goldblum's dressing
Jeff
room.
Goldblum was in
He
there,
signed
wasn't he?
inside the drawer. He signed the drawer.
He's probably still there playing jazz somewhere. He's like, okay,
He is in the drawer. He lives in that drawer.
Have you guys seen his jazz show?
No, I have not.
Really wanna
He
see
pops up everyone.
I love it. Oh,
He loves blondes. Well, that's a whole other story.
Jeff, I know you're obsessed with me, but
Well, no, you should just roll him out on a piano where he does this and roll him out, and that's it.
wow. Well, we'll invite him to the show.
that. Absolutely.
But what was yours?
Me, well, I think something I've done recently that I've really enjoyed. I've set up a company called the Mystery Agency, and that's a slightly separate endeavour. But we do like escape room puzzles in a box. So you get a box in the mail, and you have there's like old documents, and like in one you get like a pirate chest, and it's locked, and you have to work out the combination. And there's a story that you piece together, and you have to figure it out. So it's like an escape room experience, but you can play it at home. That's been quite fun. That kind of came out of lockdown, out of kind of trying to do stories in different ways and stuff. And we just recently done our first book, Mystery Agency Museum Heist, which is available to pre-order now. And that's been just such an amazing, really different experience. And I think I'm proud of that, because it's quite a different thing. And I've got to work with Rebecca Pitt, who is an amazing graphic designer. She does lots of theatre posters. That's how we first got to know her. She did the poster for the comedy about a bank robbery that we did, Grown Ups, a couple of others, and she's just amazing. And she designed. So I sort of write the puzzles and the text and all of that stuff, and put the whole thing together, create a brief. I give that to her, and then she designs how it's all going to look, and the documents and all that kind of stuff. And she's so amazing, and it's just been a cool experience to work with someone who is just so incredibly talented and creative, but who's not who I wouldn't necessarily come across in a kind of rehearsal room or whatever. And she is connected to theatre, obviously, and does lots of that stuff. But it's just been amazing, and a really different kind of process. And I've learned a lot about just how the world of products and publishing work and distribution, all that kind of stuff, has been quite interesting too. So that's been fun.
I love it. I love it. I love it. I've had such a great time with you all today. So amazing.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
I mean,
It's been
honestly, it's been
amazing.
so nice, and thank you for the free booze.
Yeah.
This has been extraordinary. Who needs dinner?
Absolutely.
It's just going to be cheese again. Just cheese. With Amundsen logo right on it. Please tell us where we can find and follow you, starting with Chris.
As in me personally.
Yes, yes.
Oh, amazing!
Where do you live? What's your
where
address?
Where do I live? So my address is flat one. No, you can find me on Instagram at Leask Chris. Leask spelled Leask. And that's where you can find me, Instagram or Twitter, a similar name.
I don't really go on Twitter anymore, but I do have an Instagram. It's Ellie__Morris. And that's where I am. Thanks.
Perfect.
You can find me on Instagram. I'm just Henry Lewis, I think, and on Twitter or X. I'm on. If you still want to delve into that,
That's a whole other show.
I'm Henry W. Lewis there, or on Threads as well.
Oh, no.
Oh, Hera, I'd love to ask this question. Where can we find you?
On Instagram, I have no idea.
I don't know. Look it up right
It's
now.
at Kershaw 3320.
Oh,
there you go.
That's good. I'm on Twitter or X.
It
It's
looks-
at
Go on,
Kershaw
explain
Harris.
this.
It looks like you're a bot.
Yeah,
Why do you-
explain those four numbers as well. Why 3320?
It was available.
It's your PIN code, isn't it?
Yeah.
Go on.
Well, yes.
Insane. Well, you can catch everybody on stage. Peter Pan Goes Wrong from August 8th to September 10th. P.S. They're featuring some pretty big guest stars. Emmy winner Bradley Whitford and TV's Daniel Day Kim. Get your tickets at centertheatergroup.org. Theater is R-E because we're fancy. But look at that. I mean, how fun. I mean, you guys do
Unreal.
such a great job. And then to bring in these stars, it's their privilege, by the way. You guys have had Neil Patrick Harris, Ellie
Kemper.
Kemper.
Yeah.
How fun.
Oh, they're amazing.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
You all have the best job.
Insane. Insane.
Thank you all for joining me.
Oh, man, thank you so much.
Thank you.
So excited to see it again. And that's all, folks. It's always a grab bag of fun here every weekend on The Rocks. Big thank you to Peter Goldman at Davidson and Choi Publicity. I want to thank our engineer, Tony Sweet, and our social media clip editor, Alexis Mendez, who's going to piece through all this and pick the best. That's going to be
It's going to
fun.
be short, isn't it?
We're going to get cut.
Please like, share, subscribe so we can continue bringing this show to you for free. Until next time, stay happy, stay healthy, stay sexy, and if you drink, stay tipsy. We'll see you next week.
Oh, yeah.
This has been another episode of On the Rocks. Tweet me and slide into my DMs on Twitter and Instagram at On the Rocks On Air. Find everything On the Rocks for free at OnTheRocksRadioshow.com. Subscribe, like, review, and share. Until next week, stay fabulous.